How would you like if you could prepare for an objection ahead of it even happening? Well, look, in sales, that is probably the one thing that you wish you knew when you walked into a conversation and you're like, I'm not a mind reader, so how am I supposed to know? Sometimes we do know because we've had some prior conversations, or maybe someone before us shared that information from us. So we kind of have a clue, especially if you've had other people that have helped you out and have known maybe the individual that can kind of let you know. But let's talk about objections and how we can handle them and how we can anticipate them before they even happen so that you can sell more. Okay. So what is an objection? Well, an objection is anything that is going to be, I call it a lot of times a smoke screen, right? Sometimes people just want to get rid of you. So they'll come up with something to throw you, which is an objection. I can't afford it. I don't like your service. Sometimes people will just be really nasty sometimes too, right? So anything to kind of, let's say, quote unquote, push you out the door because they don't want to discuss it. So that's what an objection is. And we got to know, how do we handle that? So if you could handle that ahead of time, what would you want to do? So here are some steps that you can take to get ahead and get yourself at least a little bit prepared before you go into the situation, right? So first, what you want to do is you want to define what that objection is. Try to nail down by knowing a little bit more what is going on. And how do you define the objection? Well, remember what I told you. A lot of times they're going to throw something at you that's going to look like it's an objection, but it's not really an objection. It's something to get rid of you, right? Like to stop calling me, to stop being around me, to stop showing up at my place. And you got to not let that happen to you, right? Because then they win and we don't want them to win, right? So what you want to do is you want to define what that objection is. Ask them a lot of good open-ended questions. Okay, so you said that this is something that bothers you. Can you go a little bit deeper and tell me what that is? What specifically about whatever they tell you is really your concern? Because the more specific that you get, the more you can find out what is going on with that person, the more you're going to be able to address that objection, okay? The most important thing that I want you to remember, though, is to remember to build rapport. It's not about solving that objection that day. The most important thing for you to do is that you have gotten one step closer to a better relationship with whoever you're talking to. Doesn't matter if it's something that is simple or not simple, right? You are just getting closer to the outcome. Okay, so that's what you want to remember is the most important thing of all is that you have established a relationship and that person across from you, that person on the phone from you, that person from anywhere that you're talking to them, they can feel that you actually care. They can sense that you care. Because I promise you, a lot of these objections will somehow disappear because they like you now and they trust you and they want to do business with you, right? So that is going to be so important for you, okay? The next thing you want to do is you want to address those concerns, right? The thing is, they may have a concern, but the most important thing is if you can answer the concern, you answer the concern. The bigger thing that I want you to remember is if you cannot address the concern, do not, by any circumstances, make up shit, okay? Do not. Because when you make up shit, they know. And they know that you're not telling them the truth. So your response should be, you know what? That is a very good question, or that's a very good concern. And I will find out more for you and get back to you. But don't just say something. Don't say something that you heard that's hearsay, or that somebody may have said to you that work with some of their other customers, right? Don't be that girl. Be the person who is actually going to take the time to find out what the answer is and get back to that person, because that shows that you value their relationship and their time, and that you're not wasting their time. You're not just coming up with some stupid, example to kind of get ahead of the curve. Okay. And then finally, what I want you to do is I want you to provide a solution, any kind of solution that you have. Sometimes a solution isn't really your solution. You're like, what? What do you mean by that? Well, what I mean is sometimes what you have to sell is not going to help that person, and you know it. So it's not a matter of cramming it down their throat and trying to get them to buy it. Why? You know it's not for them, but maybe you know somebody that it is for them, or a competitor, and you're like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't want to send them to a competitor. Yes, you do. Because you know what? You're going to have something in the future that you're going to need that sell that person. He's going to remember that you did something that helped them. It's all about helping the customer. It's not about you, guys. Remember that. We tend to think in sales, it's all about us and hitting our numbers and hitting our goals and whatever we're told from everybody up above. And it's really not. It's really about who you're talking to, what their needs are, what their concerns are, what their wants are. And if you can solve that, you become a superstar in sales. Okay. Now, what I want you to do when you close somebody is you're not going to just say, okay, great. Are you going to buy my shit? No, I want you to say, so let me summarize what we talked about today. Talk about the things and then clarify to make sure that you understood what they said. So from what I'm understanding you, this is what your concern was. This is where you would like to be. This is how you would like to go in the future, or whatever, whatever they tell you, you basically summarize it and say, did I hear you correctly? Is that correct? Because now you're giving them the opportunity to correct you and to change the situation if that is not what is their concern. Okay. So you want to make that very clear, and that you are hearing them and that you care about them. All right. So I hope next time you have an objection, you're going to think about these things, right? You're going to clarify the situation. You're going to build rapport first and foremost. You're going to try to address their concern and not making up anything. And you're going to summarize, and you're going to close. And that's how you are going to build relationships. And that's how you are always going to close more sales, because you are building that relationship. People know that you care. People know that you are concerned about their concern and that you want to help them. And that is the goal for every sales professional who wants to double and rocket their sales. Okay. So I hope that this helps you. And I have a free sales guide that I've created. So if you want a copy of that, just put guide below and I will make sure that you get a copy of that. So I hope you guys have an amazing sales day. Go out there and crush your sales and make your dreams come true. Have a good day, everyone.